I came back to my hometown after 22 years, not because I wanted to, but because there was nowhere else left to go. The city I once knew had shrunk. The streets were narrower, the air felt stiller. The trees I used to climb were now thin and tired, and the corner store where I'd buy orange popsicles was gone, replaced by a rusting ATM and a cracked sidewalk. But the photo studio was still there, tucked between two concrete houses along the riverbank, its yellow paint now flaking like old skin, the windows fogged over, a faded wooden sign above the door read in chipped letters, NGC Min Photo Studio. Since 1958, I stopped walking. A memory returned, vivid, intact, untouched by time. The smell of chemicals, the buzzing fan in the corner, the old man with thick glasses adjusting his camera, the way my mother held my shoulders and said, "Smile for Grandpa." I was 5 years old, and that was the last time we took a family photo. I didn't plan to go inside, but the door creaked open before I even knocked. The familiar chime above the entrance, that tiny metallic ting, still sang like it did in the 90s. The studio was dim, but not lifeless. Frames lined the walls, dusty but upright. Most held portraits of smiling couples, graduation caps, mothers holding babies. But a few were different. One in particular drew me in. A photograph of a boy, maybe 8 or 9, sitting alone on a wooden bench in the rain, facing away from the camera. His posture looked familiar, his clothes even more so. My heart skipped a beat. That jacket, that little tear at the cuff, that was mine. But I didn't remember ever taking that photo. A voice startled me. "You've come back." I turned. An old man stood in the back doorway where the developing room used to be. His hair was thin and white now, but his eyes were still sharp behind thick, round glasses. It was Uncle T-Min, the photographer. He used to call me Little Monkey and gave me candy while my mother fixed my collar. "I thought you'd left for good," he said, walking slowly with a slight limp. "I did," I replied, "just visiting." His eyes scanned me, not in judgment, but with a tired kind of understanding. "You look like your father," he murmured. Then, after a pause, "Would you like to see something?" I followed him to the back room. The smell of old chemicals lingered, faint but nostalgic. There were drawers full of negatives, files stacked to the ceiling. He handed me a box labeled unclaimed. Inside were dozens of photographs, old, unclaimed. Many were faded, corners curled. But one caught my eye immediately. It was my mother, younger than I'd ever seen her, standing in front of the studio, holding a baby. There was a date scribbled on the back, 1987, but I was born in 1990. I came back the next day and the day after. Something about the photo studio pulled at me, not just the memories, but the feeling that there were pieces of myself scattered here, waiting to be reassembled. Each time I visited, I found more strange photographs. One showed me and my childhood friend Lynn riding bicycles. But in the photo, the street was lined with trees that had been chopped down long before we met. Another showed my father fishing on a riverbank, but the boat behind him had a name I didn't recognize. In the background, a blurry child watched him from the shore. I leaned in closer. The child was me. But I never went on that trip. I asked Uncle Min about it. He looked tired. "Photographs don't always show what happened," he said quietly. "Sometimes they show what should have happened." Then he added, "or what someone wished had." On the 4th day, I found a letter tucked behind a picture frame. It was addressed to me, dated 2003. "If you're reading this, you came back. I don't know if you remember everything, or if you remember anything at all. We made a promise, you and I, we'd find the studio again, no matter what, because this is where the truth is. The day you left, something changed. It wasn't just that you forgot this place, I think. You started forgetting yourself. If you find the photo, the real one, you'll know. You'll finally know what happened to us. No signature, just a faint smell of dust and jasmine. The smell Lynn always carried with her. That night, I dreamed of the summer I couldn't remember. I was 10, maybe 11. Lynn and I were playing near the riverbank. The water was high that year. We were chasing dragonflies, daring each other to get closer to the edge. But then something shifted. The river turned still. No breeze, no insects. I turned around, and there was no one. Only a tripod standing by itself, and on it, a photo developing on its own, slowly coming into view. It was a picture of me, alone. Lynn wasn't there. The next day, I went back to the studio with one goal: find the photo Lynn mentioned in the letter. I searched through every drawer, every dusty envelope. Nothing. Then I looked under the floorboards in the darkroom. One was loose. Underneath, wrapped in wax paper and string, was a single Polaroid. The photo was grainy, but clear. It showed two children, me and Lynn, standing in front of the photo studio. But behind us, there was no sign of the studio building, just empty space, a bare patch of dirt and sky. I turned it over. In faded ink, someone had written, "The studio never existed. You made it for her." I felt a chill ripple through me. I ran outside, across the street, where the studio had always been. There was nothing, just an empty lot. No glass door with a chime. The dust on the ground looked undisturbed, like nothing had been built there in years. A man sweeping nearby looked at me, confused. "You okay, son?" he asked. "The studio, NGC Min, wasn't it right there?" He frowned. "That old place. I've lived here 40 years. Don't think there was ever a studio on that spot." I looked down at the photograph in my hand. It was fading. The edges curled inward, turning gray, like it was forgetting itself, like it had only ever existed as long as I believed in it. And now, maybe I didn't. Back at my temporary motel room, I found something strange in my bag. A cassette tape recorder. Old, heavy, dusty. I never packed this, but inside was a tape, already inserted. No label. I pressed play. The audio was faint, muffled breathing, the shuffle of shoes on pavement, birdsong, and then a voice, a child's voice. "This is Lynn. If anyone finds this, tell him he forgot. He forgot everything." But I didn't. The photo studio was never real. He made it so we'd have somewhere to go, somewhere safe. We were going to leave together that summer, but he stayed. He stayed so long, he became the story. Click, silence. I sat there, the recorder warm in my hands. Somewhere deep inside, the truth settled like dust. I went back to the river one last time. The water was calm, just like in my dream. I looked into the reflection. For the first time, I didn't see the version of me that left town. I saw the boy who stayed, the boy who waited, the boy who built an imaginary photo studio, brick by brick, memory by memory, just so he wouldn't be alone. And beside him was Lynn, still the same age, still smiling, still holding a dragonfly between her fingers, but only in the reflection. I returned to the empty lot where the studio had once stood, or where I thought it did. I brought a piece of wood, a nail, and the Polaroid, that was nearly gone. I hammered it into the earth like a makeshift grave marker. Then I stood back and whispered, "This was where we remembered each other." No one passed by, no one saw me. But as I turned to leave, I thought I heard something behind me. A faint chime in the wind, just like the bell over the photo studio door. I never found another photo of Lynn after that. I never found the studio again. Even when I returned months later, or searched online, it was like it had slipped out of time, taking a piece of me with it. But sometimes, when I dream, I find myself standing on a wooden floor, under yellow walls. I see the camera, the red curtain, the dust in the light. And Lynn is sitting across from me, barefoot, legs swinging from the bench. "Smile," she says. Just once more, the flash goes off, and I wake up with tears in my eyes, but warmth in my chest. Because maybe, just maybe, some moments don't need to be remembered. They only need to be felt.